Reconciliation. As I said, the president spent a certain amount of his time yesterday working on senators. They clearly want to get this done by July. I continue to say that the X date is going to be a big factor. As Sean said yesterday, August recess will be a big factor. Um, Big development yesterday, which is that the Senate leader, Mr. Thune, 106, made it clear that they weren't going to change, despite the noise from some of his colleagues. They're going to change very much of the House bill. It'll have to track very closely. He's talking now about the Senate version to the House bill because they've got a fragile majority and struck a very delicate balance. But there are some things that senators want to add to the bill or things we do slightly differently. Thune added that Senate Republicans are on track to deliver by Independence Day, but he acknowledged there are a lot of moving parts. And so we're going to start to see this week different committees unfurling their marks from the different committees, with finance going towards the end and probably last. Here is one of the most negative senators regarding the reconciliation bill that came from the House, the gentleman from Kentucky, who isn't going to vote for this bill because they're not going to take out the debt ceiling increase, and he won't vote for that. Here's Rand Paul on Squawk Box 108.
What would it take for you to support this bill?
Well, the main thing that I object to is raising the debt ceiling $4 or $5 trillion. That's an indication that we'll borrow that much. It's an indication that we'll put the debt on the back burner. We'll have no more discussion of it for a year or two. And really, we're locked in a year right now where in March of this year, most of the Republicans, not me, voted to continue the Biden spending levels in March. So we're operating under a continuing resolution which originated as Biden spending levels. You remember Republicans saying, Bidenomics, Biden inflation, Biden this, Biden that. Well, they voted for that in March. So the deficit here at the end of the fiscal year, at the end of September, will be about $2.2 trillion. I'm not for that, so I voted against the spending levels. But now they want me to vote for $5 trillion worth of increase in a debt ceiling, and I'm just not for that. That's not conservative.
How many people do you think you have with you? What does this bill ultimately look like in the end?
You know, I think there are 3 or 4 of us. If there are 4 of us who want it to be more fiscally conservative, I think we can reduce the spending levels and perhaps separate out the debt ceiling as well. But it takes 4 people with courage, and 4 people with courage can make the bill into anything we want it to. Right now, there are competing factions, though. There are 4 or 5 who don't want any spending cuts, and there are 4 or 5 who want more spending cuts. So it's who sticks together better and who has more courage to stand up and say no.
So I think that in the end, a lot of the people who are making noises now are going to vote yes. And we're really dealing with just a very small handful of people who might tank the thing. Larry, which senators, assuming you like me think they can't get Rand Paul, which Republican senators are you watching most closely in this dance of doom?
Ron Johnson. Senator Johnson of Wisconsin, I think, is going to be an important voice here, not just for the cuts that Rand Paul wants. I don't think they're never going to get the debt ceiling, not in reconciliation. And by the way, I think that the message from the White House is going to very quickly, and you're already starting to see it with some posts from Truth Social from the president, back off from the big, beautiful bill language and call it what it is, a tax cut. If Senator Paul and his doppelganger in the House, Congressman Massey, if they want to attack spending, do it the old-fashioned way in the Budget Committee hearings, the Appropriations Committee. Go back to regular order. You can start the process on fiscal year 26 right now, and I think that Trump will be along for the ride on it. But this is a tax cut bill, not only a tax cut bill, but it's a tax cut bill Trump just won the election with. That's what this is all about. And Senator Paul, Senator Johnson, any of the other spending hawks in the Senate, if they block this bill, it means they're blocking tax cuts. And that hurts. That hurts big time.
Dan.
Yeah, I just think they're going to posture. They're going to say what they are, and Trump's going to roll them with a steamroller / hammer. And I think it's smart. What Trump is doing is, by working the phones and being very aggressive now, he is preventing any momentum with any of these others from building. So as long as you keep them boxed in, you keep all of MAGA, it's like, all right, say what you want, but the bill is moving forward. We're not making any material changes to this. And if they do, it's going to be less cutting, higher deficit, and get on board. And I think between that and what we're about to go to next, Trump seems to want by like July 4th to have a series of victories to roll into the summer when everyone goes home in August. with like, we passed the one big beautiful bill, tax cuts, as Larry said. The tariffs are coming to an end. I got some pound of flesh from A, B, C, D, and E. And like, let's roll into the fall and into the primary season and the midterms with a head of steam.
And don't forget the rescission package that they're sending up to the Hill today.
Yeah.
You know, you got an administration who is saying to Congress for the first time in my memory, we don't want to spend this money. We want to cut this, take the money back. That boxes these Republicans into a corner. You want to go back to your state or to your district for the summer recess saying, hey, good news, everybody. I made sure we kept NPR. I didn't listen to Trump, and we kept the funding for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. That is a loser across the board. And that's going to be a good fig leaf, I think, for a lot of these guys, that this rescission package led by Russ Vought at OMB is actually telling Congress, keep your money. We don't want it. And they only need a simple majority for that as well.
I don't think that thing ever sees the light of day.
Why? Who's stopping it?
All the people who don't want those cuts going into the midterms. They're going to offer it up. They'll talk about it. They'll walk it into the ground. I don't believe they will ever do that.
Those cuts are drag shows in Madagascar. It's circumcisions in Guatemala. It's all the stuff that America hates about the bloated government. There's no way Republicans want to go back there and say that they didn't make those cuts. It's low-hanging fruit. It's the easiest stuff.
They won't do it.
All right,
we'll
Mark,
see.
break the tie.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that it really matters that much. I think that the big fight right now to me is on Medicaid.
Yep.
And whether the administration is going to convince Republican senators and the public that the only reductions in Medicaid are to force able-bodied men to work or volunteer or get training, and to deny Medicaid to people in the country illegally.
Yeah, well, and but that's my point. It doesn't matter anything dollars and cents wise, but politically, it's a great fig leaf. It's a great thing for them to go back and say, look what we did. We cut these things. No more Sesame Street, which used to be a political loser, and now it's a badge of honor.
Yes.
Like what you see? Why don't you subscribe? This is a great opportunity to be part of unique conversations. Just hit the subscribe button. And if you want to watch our events live, go to twoway.tv.